Good morning, everyone. I'm Valerie Abrahamian with Advocates for Angels, and I'm the IEP navigator, and I help parents and I empower parents to obtain the special education program their child needs to thrive, both in school and in life after high school. And today's Facebook Live is Let's Expose the Violations and Take Back Our Children's Education. School districts are violating state and federal law hundreds of thousands of times across the nation every day. So, as California continues to be closed down and kids are still in virtual schooling, there are some districts that are doing a hybrid model, but we're still in virtual overall. And we still see our kids struggling every day. Children continue to fall behind, they continue to regress, they continue to escalate in their behaviors, they continue to fail to have access to an education through technology, and IEPs are not being implemented every day. It's going to be close to a year that children will not receive an education and have their IEPs implemented and work on their goals as we come closer to the new year, because ever since March we were closed, so it's coming up on 9 months, and that's a full school year. So what are we going to do about that, parents of children's on IEPs? We need to stand up, and we need to hold our local school districts accountable to these violations. And that's why I created the monthly parent membership, the Parent Brigade, so I can empower and coach and train parents how to hold their local school districts accountable to these violations. Because there are many ways, parents, to hold them accountable and not allow them to violate our rights, violate our children's rights, and to basically lie to us about what's supposed to be happening now in this virtual schooling model. Yesterday, I had one of my brigade clients contact me and tell me that she requested a functional behavior assessment, an FBA, and a SKIA assessment, which is an aid assessment, all the way back in January of last year, and of this year, January 2020, and she's just received the assessment plan a few months ago, and she signed the assessment plan. Nothing has been happening. Nothing happened. And so she contacted the district and said, when is my board of these assessments going to be completed? Because it's been over 30 days since she returned the assessment plan. She signed it on October 1st. And as many of you know, I hope you know, that after you sign an assessment plan, the district has 60 days to conduct the assessment and to hold an IEP meeting and review the results of that assessment. So it's been over 30 days since October 1st. So she contacted them and said, hey, no one's assessing my child. And she got written in writing back from her program specialist saying, oh, we're sorry, we're not doing assessments right now because these assessments need to be done at the school site in the classroom. And school is closed right now, so we're not obligated to do assessments, which is a flat out lie. It's total misinformation, and it's incorrect. They are doing assessments. They are doing assessments in person at the school site now. We're taking our kids to the school site to get assessed. Now, back in March, April, May, and June, yes, they weren't doing assessments at that time. They should have been doing virtual assessments, but they didn't. But since the new school year began in August, they started bringing kids to the school sites to conduct assessments in person at the school site with whatever service provider is conducting the assessment. And this just happened recently, last week. The program specialist put in no, I'm sorry, it wasn't the program. It was the psychologist. The psychologist put in writing, we're not doing assessments right now at all, not even a virtual assessment. It's complete misinformation. Now, let me tell you what the correct information is. That comes down from federal Secretary DeVos and also state law, which says that the districts must move forward with all assessments. When a parent requests an assessment plan is signed. They must move forward with assessments. They must conduct assessments virtually to the best of their ability, and then they bring the child to the school site in person to conduct standardized test scores. Now, remember something else. The home is the classroom now, parents. The home is the classroom. So yes, we can't see our kiddos in the classroom. They can't go into the classroom and see how is your kid behaving in the classroom. How are they paying attention and completing tasks? How are they following directions? They can't do those kinds of observations in the classroom, of course not, because we're not in the classroom. But the home is the classroom. So they must be taking what we have now, conducting the assessment as if the home is the classroom. So they can do that part virtually, and then they can bring the child to the school site and assess for the standardized test scores in person. So absolutely assessments are moving forward. That's a violation of state and federal law, that what that site said to this mom in writing. So that's just one little example of the hundreds of thousands of times. Now, if that's just one school district, they're telling this to parents all over in this one school district that has 7,500 kids on an IEP in this one school district. Now let's just take how many kids do you think are in the state of California, and then think of across the nation, there are 7 million children on IEPs across the nation. So this is what is occurring. It's still occurring. It hasn't stopped. And our kids' IEPs continue to be evaluated, and our rights continue to be walked all over because parents don't know their rights. That mom said right to me, I would have never known that, Valerie, if you didn't tell me. I would have just said, oh, okay, that makes sense, and then just let it go. And that's what they are hoping will happen. They're hoping that you're going to disbelieve them and let it go. And then your child's assessment has been delayed for an entire year, an entire school year, when you could have gotten your child assessed and improved their IEP and had their needs met in whatever area that assessment was in. So that's one small example, as I said, of violations that are occurring across the nation. Now let's talk about some other successes that have been happening in the Parent Brigade, the Monthly Parent Brigade. There's like 8 of the brigade members that have already received compensatory services from March, April, May, and June for occupational therapy and speech. They have to make up those services, guys. IDA was not waived in March, April, May, and June when they closed schools. They have to make up those services. And 8 of my brigade members have been successful in having their district agree for Comp Ed to make up those services. And you can too, when you learn your rights and how to do these things and hold them accountable. Another brigade member also received an in-person behavior aid. So this is a huge one. So let me explain. This child did not have an aid at all. He didn't have a district aid. He didn't have an aid. So in the home, he began to show self-harm. He began to cut himself with a pencil and hit himself and harm himself, okay? So when a child harms themselves, immediately the district has to go into action with behavioral strategies and there's many laws and mandates that are attached to behavior. When a child is at risk of harming himself or others, then there's all these things that immediately go into play that must take place when that occurs. So because that was happening, we were able to get this child an behavior aid, a private, non-public agency behavior aid, which they run between $50,000 and $65,000 a year because they're supervised by a BCBA. They are not school district personnel. That's why it costs so much money. And they're going into the home to work with the child during virtual schooling because he was self-harming himself. So that's another huge victory that shows that how that parent was able to be successful because their child was self-harming. Another example. Let me give you another example. Another parent in the parent brigade, mom, she was able to have her son placed in a non-public school for kids with dyslexia because the district was failing to meet his needs in terms of reading and reading comprehension, all areas of reading. And I helped her to write the appropriate letters, hold the IEP meeting, and go through the 7 steps for IEP success that I teach in the parent brigade. So that was another win of about $75,000 a year for that parent because she not only got the tuition for the non-public school, private school, but which was quite a bit of money, but she also received, continued to receive the speech and language services, the occupational therapy services, and transportation to and from the school, which added on about another $15,000 to the $65,000, or I don't know exactly, so don't quote me, but it's somewhere around $50,000 or up for the tuition, and then services and transportation on top of that is about another $10,000. So it's probably upwards of that, but I'm being conservative. So these are some of the wins that these parents are having in the parent brigade, and they're big wins. So they're just not the small things, which aren't really small, which is having your child's IEP implemented, which means they're working on the goals, they're providing your accommodations, they are actually teaching your child, and that your child is accessing and sitting down and actually learning on the computer. How many kids aren't even learning on the computer, you guys? Kids won't even sit there in front of the computer, listen to the teacher, and then complete some work assignments. So many kids can't even do that because they still haven't transitioned over to a virtual schooling model. And that's failing to access, the district is allowing that child to not have access to an education. That's what the districts are violating. The districts are responsible to make sure that your child is learning, is progressing towards their goals, and that means implementing the IEP. And so many parents are just completely lost, pulling their hair out, saying, how do I help my child? And I'm giving you this gift of the monthly parent membership so you can help your child, so you can be successful, like these other parents in the monthly parent brigade are being successful, to hold their districts accountable, and their kids are doing better now because they're getting their needs met. They're not getting lied to. They're knowing how to come back and say, oh, no, that's not correct, psychologist. The district is providing, conducting assessments, and in fact, they're conducting them in person. And when would you like to schedule my in-person assessment for my child? And then, of course, we immediately, because I had her send it over the head of the psychologist to the director, and then it got taken care of in about, the next day. So this is what I teach in the parent brigade, guys. So let me go over the steps real fast of the 7 steps in the parent brigade that I teach. So and the acronym is EMPOWER. So the EMPOWER 7 steps for IEP success. Number 1 is as E, engage the IEP team with the parent agenda. So you learn to write your parent agenda. M is you're going to memorialize your IEP meeting with your partial agreement. You're going to write a partial agreement after your IEP meeting. Number 3 is prepare. P, prepare to win with the PWN. So after you write your partial agreement, you're going to receive a PWN from the school district, and then you're going to start winning after you get that PWN, because it's going to say no, because they always say no. That's the first response that they typically give is no, and then you can get going on how you get to the yes. Then number 4 is O, which is you're going to write your parent letter, which outlines your issues with your parent letter. So you're going to respond to the prior written notice that said no. Number 5 is you're going to ask for If you didn't win with your parent letter and they didn't come back and say, okay, we're going to give you what you want, then number 5 is witness your position in an IDR, which is an informal dispute resolution meeting. So you would call with your director of special education, you would call an IDR so that you can present your case and present why they should be not denying what you're requesting for your child. And I help parents go through all of these steps to be successful. And then sometimes after you have an IDR, the director might want to write a settlement agreement. So 6 is E for encourage compromise with the settlement agreement, because in a settlement agreement, you're always going to meet in the middle and you're going to come to a compromise so you win and the district wins. And the most important thing is that your child wins, because you're going to meet the needs of your child. And then number 7, if the settlement agreement is not successful, you're going to write a compliance complaint. So that's resolve your case with a compliance complaint, and it could be to the CDE, the California Department of Education. If you're outside of California, these steps still work for you. It's federal law. This is the same 7 steps that all advocates and attorneys take outside of a hearing. So a compliance complaint or an OCR complaint, which is an Office of Civil Rights complaint, because they most likely are violating not only state and federal law regarding the IDEA, but also they are violating your child's civil rights, which is a human right to be educated alongside their typical developing peers and learn just like the general ed kids are doing in virtual schooling. Because there's probably about, a tiny percentage of kiddos on IEPs who are actually being successful in virtual schooling. Not many. And those kids that are being successful are the kids that have are highly strong academic kids. They already are good with their academics. They have strong technology skills, so they understand the computer and the technology. And those are the only kids that are being successful in this situation. The majority of those 7 million kids across the nation are not successful parents. So until parents, you learn how to defend your rights, this is not going to end. I really don't believe we're going to go back for the rest of the school year. This is going to drag on and drag on and drag on. And so your child is going to miss not only 9 months, a whole school year, but more than 9 months if we go all the way into June and without going back to school in person. And then even when we do go back, well, I won't even talk about that because that'll be another thing. We'll deal with that when it comes, but that's what we're looking at, parents. So to join the Parent Brigade, you're going to go to advocatesforangels.com, and it's a number 4, advocates, plural, for angels.com /brigades, BRIGADES /. So it's brigades is a plural, and advocates is also plural. Advocatesforangels.com /brigades / and you can join the Parent Brigade there. I hope to see you there, parents, because we have to defend our kids' rights in this situation. It's insane. Our kids are getting discriminated against. They are not getting an equal education, equal to general education kids. And you can do something about it. You can do a lot about it. I just gave you several examples of how successful the Parent Brigade members are being in learning their rights and learning how to stand up against the injustice and the violations and the discrimination of school districts across the nation, because they're going to just continue this way, parents. They're going to continue in this vein unless you learn how to hold your school district accountable. Okay, so thank you guys, and I hope to see you next Monday on my next Facebook Live. Please like and share this video so we can help as many parents as possible, and I'll see you next Monday. Take care, everyone.